The double. I guess there was a few that are new here and the transmission needed to come back through again, or new to just this awareness. Maybe you missed it last time, but to remember, there is a double. There's another you. It has to be. It's all a product of how it's designed. It's nothing personal. It doesn't have to necessarily do with entities, spells, spirits, rituals, etc. It's about the design in itself. And because of this specific design, when you are created, another you is created. And this you we call the double, and often functions somewhat like an antithesis to the situation. Meaning that in life, you could be destined for greatness and completely mess it all up. Because there is an anti-you that sometimes will, everything you say that you want to accomplish, it will tell you why you can't do it. Every action denotes a reaction from this thing and vice versa. So when you're aware of that, you're able to simulate certain levels of awareness that give you growth. One of those levels is about personal things, personal success that's big for you, not mentioning that to everybody before it happens because you're bragging about it. It's like, yeah, I'm about to go and I'm getting a car. I'm going to get this new job. They're going to call me on Monday. Then I'm going to get the car and then we're going to hit the club. Yes. I call that eating it up. This means that every single thing that is needed to the energy that is left, that is needed to manifest what it is that you need to manifest is already being eaten in your happiness and your joy, and you haven't received it yet. Likewise, a lot of times when you're telling a person something, their double seems to not like what you're telling them because they're still in this preservation phase of trying to figure out if you're going to be taking them to the club with you, or if you're going to get a new set of friends, or if you're going to go back across town with your boyfriend again, and they just go on this tangent and it starts sending energy, or what they call arrows, at that projection until Monday comes around. You swear you got the thing, you even dress, and they say, hey, yes, Jennifer, unfortunately, we had a candidate come in and he was just way better for the job. But listen, if we need you, we'll call you. See, and then you're like, wow, okay, the whole thing is cascading. And it's, again, here's another metaphor of that for those that may not like that one. It's just like a child. When a newborn child comes in, you can't really expose this newborn child to a lot of stuff. Especially, of course, even when during the conception, the mother's womb wasn't so strong. You know, you're in such a sensitive phase, just a little thump could take you out of the game. So things that are very precious when they're in their infancy stages, you have a tendency to want to keep them hermetically sealed and away from all the germs and the bacteria, the things that are going on around it, until it has enough opportunity to actually fend for itself and to actually use those contrasts as benefits, right? So the awareness of the double gives you another heightened level of awareness of how to move. It's almost like they had another metaphor for this, and I'm going to see if I can explain this, and I'm done. It talks about how if you can imagine then the created worlds and that there's an actual creator, then you can imagine that the only way that you can keep perfecting the creation is you would need somewhat of an opponent. And this opponent would basically attempt to exploit the system. It's like the same thing that, let's say a corporation has this robust software and they got all these people in this software, but they need to protect everyone. So they have to do a hackathon, and they do these hackathons because they're basically offering rewards, 50,000, 100,000 for anybody that can hack their system. Now, this may be foreign to most people, especially those who don't believe that every success first starts with a failure. It may be foreign to them to actually try to get others to destroy what they have so they can figure out, if they start destroying it, how they were destroying it so that they can create a version that you cannot destroy. This is what our ancestors have us doing here now. That is one of the biggest missions, if you say, in the cosmos, is debugging destruction, ignorance, and stupidity and stuff like we're seeing right now. Don't expect to ever see this kind of thing again, because it's going to get debugged out. However it started, because this stuff starts thousands and thousands of years ago. So who knows? It could be as silly as a snail rolling on one side than the other. You just, you don't know, but there is a all knower, right? There's a source where everybody's plugged in and all knowing. And in the all knowing phase, it's clear that you're debugging for the host, like the ones that are out, that are about, you're debugging for them all failures. So this awareness, it's very powerful because in visualizing the opponent across the table, they say that, so as a creator, and you just got to visualize this, as a creator, you have this opponent across the table, and you can imagine this opponent is in the hood, the face is dark, you can't even see the face, it's just like all darkness, right? Maybe there's even a reaver staff right there, and there's a chess game going on. But this being specifically, though, the opponent is blind. It's almost like, because you know the source code and the hacker doesn't know the source code or is not exposed to certain codes, it's like they're still blind as it's moving through your system. And while they think maybe that they're actually hacking it and that they're actually winning and that they're even turning it in the direction that they want it to go, they're blind to the fact that there's something that has got them doing all of that. And even when they have this recollection, maybe that's the case and they're still doing distortion, they actually think they're in some kind of competition with it and that they're even winning against it. And they don't even realize that this massive form of consciousness that is us is just letting any kind of exploitations happen so it can patch up that area and that can never be exploited again. And this is how you have to see your consciousness also in the development of your consciousness. But again, since this was a space that our ancestors used to create in, clearly, because we're here, just like this is even a maker space that I'm sitting in right now, I can't tell you how many things I've had to do over and over and over again, especially when you're messing with machinery and these kind of things. And the first one never comes out well. You just celebrate the first one because finally you got to that stage. But then there's this whole process where you got to keep calibrating and setting things. So what I'm saying is, what makes us believe that fact and fundamental about life would make it any different from the supreme and what the supreme has to also do? Nothing is exempt from this. The same rules and dynamics that we are being trained by is the same rules and dynamics in which our ancestors and the creators are using. So in that respect, it just puts us into an awareness that we have this opportunity to see in life that opposition is our refinement. And it's our ability to understand how we're being exploited. And ultimately, as we mentioned 2 sovereign sessions earlier, the mind becomes the vulnerability point. Right? So again, just so you understand, the mind is the most vulnerable component because the ears are, this is like left and right. So it's going to hear both opinions. And there's a vulnerability there. So if you don't have that mastermind where immediately it's like every idea gets pat down before it comes into your mind. And of course, we don't start like that. So this is deprogramming. Deprogramming is the process that we go through so that way we can start getting back in control of our mind. And then we realize we're getting in control of our mind because even the mistakes that you made are all part of the process. That how the hell you're not going to make mistakes? The Supremes made mistakes. How are you coming in here not making mistakes? Who the hell are you? You wouldn't even be here. So do you see how in our minds, what we can think is how things go? I made a mistake. Now it's all over. Is like, what do you mean? Mistakes is how it begins. But you have to realize also the same space that you exist in and the things that you don't like the most are part of those things and processes of weeding out those mistakes. And we just have to be able to throw ourselves into the work. Because the excitement comes in. Nobody works well when they're depressed. The excitement comes in is the joy at the end of it. The paycheck, if you may. People work to get the check. We have to realize that even the work in itself has something to teach us, and that's what we're doing. So I'm going to keep moving through this. I'm going to answer some questions because, let me see what I could do with this time thing. Let me do something on this time. So that was the double, and just that awareness again of how we can create a whole advanced form of consciousness within ourselves by just coming into the awareness of some of the hard-coded factual integers about how we are put together. And then that leads to certain things. You reverse engineer those certain things, and then you come back with just the facts about how it's put together and how things work. And then at that point, you're able to use that knowledge, that beyond all of the other confusion, to begin to refine what it is that you're looking for.